This is Jackie, and I'm here with Ryan of Fit for a King here at the Virginia Beach stop of Vans Warped Tour. Good to see you again. We spoke about 3 months ago, give or take.
Yes.
Baltimore Soundstage. What's gone on for Fit for a King since then?
Really just prepping for Warped Tour.
How do you prep for Warped Tour?
More mental, and by, I guess, prepping, it means I pretend that I'm not going to go on Warped Tour and then just soak in as much at home time as possible before leaving.
Like, this bed is so comfortable, I'm going to enjoy it for 3 straight months. Okay. I was gonna say, I don't know, other than like standing out, maybe, or like just pointing a hairdryer at your face. I'm not sure how else
you
do it.
Outside and then just jumped around while at hair dryers. Were all like 20 of them, and they were all just hitting me with heat.
And you're like, I'm ready for Arizona. Let's go.
I'm still not ready for Arizona.
What was the inspiration behind your latest single, Death Grip?
That song, it was me trying to like put into words the feeling of anxiety and stuff. Like with anxiety, like having a really tight grip on your life and affecting how you live your life. So that's what that song is trying to visualize. Where a lot of people think the song's about the world ending and stuff, but it's really just about how like it can feel like your world's ending with crippling anxiety and stuff like that. So that's really what the song is visualizing.
And a lot of the other songs on the album are either biographical or autobiographical. Which songs are more difficult to play or more challenging to play? The ones that are more fictional or ones that are more personal?
I'd say personal is a little easier because the adrenaline can take over. Because when you have a personal connection to the song, it definitely makes it more impactful.
And as far as Death Grip, who came up with the treatment for the video?
Our Kevin, the guy who directs it, came up with it. We go with him because we want the video producer to come up. We want them to listen to the song and come up with something. Because we want it to be what they think of the song as opposed to us telling them, because we think it's going to have a way more clear message whenever the director's excited and has their interpretation of it. So he was fully responsible for the treatment. We, of course, approved it ahead of time. Because if he's like, I really think this song's about bunnies and stuff, then, yeah.
Now that's a video I'd also like to see.
I would, too. So maybe he needs to redo the video. Sorry.
There you go. At least on Instagram, like something. Like just play it, watch some bunnies, done.
Kittens and bunnies. And puppies.
Just baby animals and Death Grip.
Baby turtles are cute.
I think that would reduce anxiety watching that.
Absolutely. It's the opposite of anxiety.
So what role do you see music videos having in 2017 when here in the States we don't have a station or a channel that plays them all the time anymore?
I think they're diminishing. The impact of videos are diminishing a bit. It's almost kind of like CDs, where CDs now are collector's items. Whereas music videos are kind of, you need content on YouTube, so let's put content on YouTube. I don't think you'll see near as many massive budget videos in this world. Obviously, if you're like Rihanna or something, you're going to get TV play and stuff. But if you're a metal band, there's not really a home for it, whereas Fuse and MTV used to.
Damn it, Rihanna.
I know, it's her fault. She has those death metal shirts, which are kind of cool.
Sort of speaking of which, what are your thoughts? Not that this is a question. This is a question I've never asked anyone, but I just think it's interesting at this point. The Jenner sisters put out a T-shirt line of the Doors concert T-shirts that were distressed, but then their faces on them. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know who told them it was a good idea legally, because aren't they facing like lawsuits and stuff now?
They are,
which is kind of predictable. So,
I mean, they picked some really notable, like bands with a ton of money that can sue you.
Yeah.
I kind of wondered, like, if they had picked a band that doesn't have the financial backing to take the legal right?
Yeah, the Doors, and a lot of those bands, like as royalties start getting smaller and smaller because of streaming and stuff, they're going to be looking for reasons to sue anybody. I feel like, because they're like, ooh, we can finally make money again.
Yeah. Especially off from some really wealthy sisters.
They are, so,
exactly.
Yeah.
You mentioned streaming. In fact, what role do you see streaming sites like Spotify for a band like yours?
I think streaming, whether we like it or not, is the future of music. Like, just the difference between our last 2 records. Obviously, we're a bigger band when we put out the newer record, so numbers are inflated because of that. But, like, in 2014, our record Slave to Nothing did 200,000 streams in its first week, which is whatever. And then on the new one, it did like 1.3 million. So 2 years later, I know our band is bigger, but we sold more physical copies, but our streaming went up by like 6 or 7 times. And I'm not ready to say our band is 7 times bigger than it was back then. Maybe like 2 or 3. But yeah, I think streaming is just going to keep, physical sales are going to keep going down to the dedicated fans and the ones that want a physical copy in their hand. And streaming is for everybody else.
So how do you think bands are going to start rectifying the financial side? Because it is, after all, a business. You do want to be able to have a house with electricity and just at least the essentials. So is the hope then that listeners go to concerts, that they buy merch? Like, what would then be the focus for you, do you think?
That's definitely the hope, because if you can bring people out to the shows, you'll get higher guarantees and then sell more merch, ideally. So it just sucks because back in the day, a band could take a year off of touring because their royalties would be their primary paycheck. So now you have to kind of tour 2 or 3 times a year. I think labels are going to hurt more from streaming than anybody, because labels' sole income, unless there's like 360 deals, which I don't know if you know what that is. No. So 360 deals, where a label gets a percentage of all income from any source that the band makes. It's basically something we would never sign. So like if you go on tour, you have to give a percentage of your guarantees and your merch, even though the label doesn't. So I think labels are going to start being more aggressive with that kind of stuff, because the less people are buying CDs, and streaming doesn't really give much money quite yet. So I think labels are going to start finding, like, I know a lot of labels that have downsized their staff a lot in the past 5 years. So I think it's just going to get smaller and smaller, and to the point where labels either become obsolete or I guess they're going to have to find other ways to get money from the band. So
there's always a way. They'll figure something out, right? So, so you mentioned streaming sites sort of becoming the trend. What are some goals that you have for yourself or for the band for the rest of the year?
We want to finish writing a new record this fall before we leave for another tour in November, December, and then ideally go record it early next year. So we always want to write when we have time off.
What's influencing? Have you started? And if so, what's influencing your songwriting now?
We're getting a lot of influence from As I Lay Dying right now. Like just a lot more metal stuff like Kill Switch and all that. We're still going to be a really heavy band and not change our sound too much, but we're definitely gathering influence to like make things a little more interesting with our guitar work and all that.
Well, stay tuned for much more from Fit from a King. This is Jackie. Thanks to Chorus FM and One Avenue.